Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
And I am Connor Cockings. And Stuart, it's the review week again, review day, more Star Trek goodness. So Stuart, what did you think of episode 4?
Well, to me, there was an A, B, and C plot.
Okay.
And the C plot that took up maybe 2 minutes of screen time was the most exciting part of it for me. Overall, I mean, it was very well written. It had a lot of character development beats and made me dislike a certain character a lot more, but that's okay. I just felt a few of the scenes dragged on a little too long, and other than that, I mean, it felt like Star Trek. It felt good, but at the same time, I could have done without half the episode. Just have it shortened down, have some scenes clipped. It was all right. It was more focused on character development stuff, and that's great because that's what we need from Discovery because we haven't had that. It's entertaining. It feels like Star Trek, but at the same time, as far as personal entertainment goes or personal preference, this is not up there for me. It's got one or two moments that are really good that I really enjoyed, but overall, it was just kind of a bland episode.
I liked it overall. I was surprised. Well, we got lots of right, which is great. And I called the Picard uniform. I was pretty happy I got that right.
Yes, that was awesome. Congrats to you. Because I said they weren't going to do that.
You were very specific.
Yes. So I gave you kudos on my first reaction review last night that you got that right. So.
And I was also surprised that I said it would be a shorter episode, but it was full 55. Now, I do think it was one of those things that, like you say, they probably could have easily have cut 10 minutes out. But wouldn't you rather have 10 minutes of character moments than not have them? And it might not necessarily serve the episode individually better, but it helps to build the universe more. And obviously, season 1, we didn't get any of this. And they're also shorter. So it's like they're finally rewriting in stuff. Like that whole dinner scene is cheap, cheerful, quick, easy, very long, but at least we get something.
See, and it wasn't the dinner scene that bugged me. It was more of the trill stuff that bugged me. Yeah, and I think a lot of that was dragged out.
This season, each episode is a very simple story. This episode was just go trill, find information. That's it. And everything else is kind of like, well, now every other character has nothing to do. Let's give them something to do. That's almost the point, is to take a night off. It's the, let's pause, because we're not going to do any more story. Like, every episode is now a box of story. This is the only small one step we can go. Even with Detmer stuff, there's no, beyond the little bit of continuity, there's no overarching, like, I have no idea where it's going. There's no real hints, or it could disappear next week, you know. The dark matter thing also feels like it's a throwaway set of lines to make them feel better. That doesn't feel like that's going to be the new thing. Like, none of these things feel like they're building to anything per se.
One thing does feel like it's building to something, and it was my favorite part of the episode. It was the C plot, and that's the sphere data.
There you go, yeah.
The split personality of the computer.
Which we called.
And I really appreciate
we were calling this. This is something especially you called on, the idea of this.
Yeah, and so the computer had like a split personality and a split. That was great. I'm glad that was in there. It was so short, and at the end, it was the computer's idea or the ship's idea to do the whole movie night thing, and that was great. Like, that's going somewhere. That's going to eventually tie in with Calypso, which is what I was hoping for. So that's the one thing that I really took out of this episode that I really loved.
And I was surprised by that scene because it's such a season 1 callback when he's being captain. Like, it almost feels like he hasn't shifted at all when he takes command for a couple of, or even, which season it was a bit, and then the shift of the computer happens. Once you you as the audience and we know they are mentioning sphere data, you know they're not going to let that be. Like, that thing is their get out of jail free. That thing is their Q entity that can do whatever they want. Now, they're playing it okay so far, but it is really the MacGuffin of the show. But to have it already be an AI in essence now does sort of devalue the Discovery Future thing. Obviously, that was a more personality-based thing, but the amount, like, I was expecting, once you work out that's what's happening, I was expecting to be still the computer voice, but a bit more organic. But it was a full-on shift to, well, this is just a different computer. Like, there was no subtlety with that scene. It was over the head. This is a thing. It was entertaining, but it was not subtle in any way.
Well, you also called the crew kind of against each other, or the crew, you know, not coming to terms with what they've done and where they are. You called that as well, which was great because that was like the main point of the episode, at least the B plot. That being said, I don't know why Detmer was the way she was with Stamets. That came out of nowhere for me, and it wasn't enjoyable. I don't like Detmer as it is. I like her even less now. And I don't care if they hugged it out at the end. I think it was a ridiculous plot point and just dumb.
The problem when you it's like if you threw Harry Kim in season 1, a massive character moment, you'd be like, oh, well, that's not been set up. So when you throw someone that we associate with the show for so long a big moment, but we barely know who they are, you're like, is that out of character or not? I don't even know. Whereas that was a bigger scene. You can tell actors probably put up more of a stink. In a good way, like, I want more this season. Come on. Like, you can tell, because, she's the only one getting really lines. Like, even when the other two, Bryce and Howard, I believe, leave the room, they don't say a word to Saru. That was their moment to say something characterful, and the writers didn't give them a single line. I was like, really, guys? This is, like, don't just focus. Don't say, well, we've got our token bridge crew officer we're going to give lines to. They all need to be or nothing. You know what I mean? That felt odd to me.
Well, I kind of saw that coming. We saw that in Vegas, to be fair. She was the one we approached for an interview, and oh no, her agent steps in, and oh no, we can't do that. The other ones were like, yeah, true. Cool, we'll talk to you.
Yeah,
exactly, true. And that's one of the reasons I don't like the actress, but I didn't like the character before that, so it didn't really matter. So she's coming off as a little bit too uppity for me.
As long as they touch on these topics, even if they don't do them properly, they still touch on them, like they did continue to repair Discovery today. I mean, didn't look damaged, but they were still repairing. So at least, like, even though it's a small token, it's all we need conceptually. And so the crew is hurt, but the problem with that, though, although I will say that having the stuff with the Doctor was great. That entire sequence was great, and it actually shows how good the actor is. He doesn't get a lot, and especially since he was a dead guy for a long time and a dick because he was a dead guy. Like, he's back to his old season 1 self. Great, perfect. But they weren't necessarily, like, they were traumatized by not having a purpose now. They didn't mention the things they left behind. So they didn't care, really, about the fact they left their families. It was all about, well, what do we do now? There's nothing to hang on to now. So there was a big disconnect with what would realistically be going on versus what the show thinks should be going on. At least we got the drama, or the trauma, but it definitely wasn't angled in the right direction, and they could easily have thrown in lines of both and then solved it at the end of the episode, but they kind of ignored. Like, because last week Tilly mentioned her cousins and her mum. It's like, that's the thing you would mention, not, well, what mission do I have? No, it's all of the people I've left behind.
I mean, the awkward Thanksgiving dinner thing that Saru did, which was just a typical Tuesday for Tilly growing up, I thought that was a great line. But it's funny how things just went so wrong so fast. And I don't know why Giorgio was there. Apparently everybody knows she's the emperor, because they refer to her as the Emperor.
Yeah, I mean, hey, the Saurian knows now. I mean, that was outed right there. Why would Linus know? He's just a lower decks guy.
I figured most of the bridge crew knew, but
yeah,
and her attitude during the whole meal was, again, like, her picking up the food and and throwing it down. I didn't get that. I thought that was just weird.
Trying to force her to have lines. Like, there's nothing for the character to do. It's the most pointless character in the show, and a weaker actress. In this context, she adds nothing, so they didn't give her anything to do.
I don't know why Tig wasn't there either. Tig should have been in that dinner scene.
Well, he did mention these are the guys. These are all of you people who I've spent the most time with. He's only spent half a season with her, so I can understand.
I wish the Doctor would have gone down to the planet. To be fair, he's been through something. And Burnham points that out, but I love how it was his suggestion that Burnham go down, and Burnham was resistant to it.
It's like the writers listened to Trekyards before we made the comment, because we asked that question and they devoted a scene to it. It's like, oh, well, we can't complain there because you explained it in a scene. Oh, okay.
He should have gone down as well, not like have them both go down. I don't know why he wouldn't. He's the medical expert.
I mean, not on Trills, obviously. Like, he has no knowledge on Trills, but he's a physician right now. Yeah, he didn't get an explanation why not both of them. It's just, you should go, not me, because you get paid more and you're higher in the call sheet. I mean, no, it should have been both of them. And it would have been more tension to have him at the pool scanning and saying, like, cut to him saying their biosigns are failing. Like, that would have been added drama.
And even the whole Burnham, I mean, they're still using her as, like, the main character, even though her character in the show is more like, whoa, are you sure I should be doing this? Like, I'd rather stay up here, kind of thing, which I appreciate. But her jumping into the Trill pool bugged me a little bit because she has no idea what she's getting into for that. Why wouldn't the monk go in? Because he could tell the the person that's in there. Yeah, let those strands touch you. That's trying to connect with you, because it was kind of an odd disconnect there for me. I can see, yes, she knows her, and again, why don't they both go into the drill pool to help her out? Unless that's too much for.
No, it definitely felt a case of we need to keep our main character in scenes. Because there was large chunks in the middle, I felt like anyway, of just these new two characters without Michael Burnham. And then she pops back in the scene. You're like, oh yeah, she is here.
Now, the whole Trill thing was interesting. The fact that she had to get over this one traumatic moment, this memory she's blocked, to be able to unlock all the other memories. And yeah, we find out that her partner Gray was the one that took the symbiote from Senatal, and then got killed by just a simple shard of glass through the chest, which you'd think they'd be able to fix in the future, but that's okay. It's a pretty traumatic event, her taking on the symbiote, and I thought that was pretty well done, actually. And this one was written to give the feels. I mean, a lot of people, I think, really felt emotionally impacted by this one.
Well, I found that swell when all the people appear, and it's like, you've succeeded. That was a genuine, like, this is a good moment. This is this resonates. This is a successful setup, do, and then payoff, which they don't often do. That's not a thing they normally do in this show, but always call out when they do it. And I thought the Trill stuff on average was fine to good. It gets better, and like I say, the payoff I think is worth everything. But I think the pond is odd because there's no context behind it, none really. So the fact that they can dive, that they get pulled in, and then Buzz like, I can't feel them. It's like, is she not going to drown? And then how is Burnham go down as well? And why would a non-symbiote be able to connect to a symbiote, connect to a... Like, it becomes a bit more mystical, and I didn't appreciate the being pulled in. That seemed odd to me. You didn't need that.
No, you did not need that. It was to, like, raise the stakes, but it was, like, never explained how long they were under there.
She'll drown.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess the symbiote can give her oxygen, but then Burnham would drown. Like, it just takes it from reality to fantasy, and Star Trek isn't about fantasy, it's about science fiction. Because then it would have been nice to have Burnham, like, go in and hold her hand. As soon as she holds her hand, ooh, that would have been a more powerful... Like, she's now connected via her. Would have been way more impactful. And then you could cut to the outside of them talking. That said, I thought, yeah, the traumatic thing was pretty good. It was a nice, simple reason. Because I went back and I watched the TNG episode with Riker, and humans can join Trills. There ain't no problem. They might be rejected or not. And in fact, I found it odd then in this episode. This has never happened before, except in TNG, the first time we meet Trills. It's like, dudes, you would know this. It's already happened.
To be fair, that's 900 years in the past. Those records could have been lost. They could have been... And this is generations of separation between... I know it's still a Trill symbiote, so...
Yes, they would remember. Because remember, that Riker's always going to be in that symbiote. But if it was a universe first, it would go into history books. I mean, there's a reason the Guinness Book of World Records exists, so I don't buy that for a second they didn't know. And I was honestly quite shooken by them being like, this is a... Like, we talked about it last week, it should be easy. And it is easy in TNG, except Riker wasn't the right fit for it, etc. But the way they play it, I get the world's changed. They should have said it's so rare it almost always fails. Not to say it's never happened, because it has literally happened in the first time we ever met them. And I like the fact that the character shift now happens. This character we've just been introduced to is not going to be at all the same character, because actually, I forgot this, Trill kind of take over. Like, the host is just a vessel. Which is weird though, because Jadzia is more Jadzia, but then Riker was fully taken over by the other guy. So it's a little bit inconsistent with how much...
Because she was trained.
Yes.
She was trained for most of her life to take its symbiote. He definitely wasn't. So I think that's the differentiation there.
Which is then for this character, like, taken over, and won't be the same person. And I did read some people complain at the end that the Grey character is a hallucination, which did feel a bit odd to me. They're dead. Have them come back in, like, episode 7 if they want to do, like, I need to feel the past. But don't have them be like, that felt forced. Just because. Kind of like, we need to keep this character relevant.
We'll have to see moving forward how much Grey is used. Because it might be that we don't see them very often, so...
Yeah, it'd be fine if it was just like they're like part of how they live now rather than. But we saw that in DS9. So there is no magic there. It's just and that Trill. I doubt they've never bonded a relationship couple before, so I'm sure those feelings are more connected. That said, I found the scenes where they were on their colony ship, whatever. The fact they're 17 or 16 each. I felt the "I love you" scenes a bit more hollow because you're so young. Like, I'll love you forever, except by this age, people maybe have one boyfriend, maybe. Like, there's a slight disconnect with they should have been in their late 20s, I think. Having be so young made it feel more like you're my first boyfriend, I love you because you're my first love, but really I'll get over you in 5 years and I'll meet my husband or wife or none either in 20, you know what I mean? They were so full on. I mean, it's the mega future post-destruction of things. Who knows how people get married at the age of 10? Who the hell knows? Whatever. And back on the Shard. Yeah, the Shard was stupid. You could have had anything happen to this person. Why a shard of glass?
But then we see the former hosts. There's 5, and if you count Gray, there's 6.
But he was a day. So
yeah. Well, maybe not a day, maybe a week or something, but. And most of them were in Starfleet. We've got the Admiral, we got the Picard era, we've got another one, which I'm not sure where that uniform fits into the timeline. It almost looks like a Discovery reimagined version of a motion picture uniform, which I'm not sure that it is. And when you were talking about this in our preview or our predictions video, I thought it would be really odd if there was quite a few Starfleet people in the past hosts, but I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. You might want to have the same career path. But
well, especially as the first host, you can imagine the first host may have been, offering their services to the Federation. Then obviously at that point, you've now got the Federation core values instilled in you. It's like an addiction. It's kind of hard to go back when your host is so Federation-y. It becomes kind of oops, we've always got to be Federation.
So they've made the implication twice now that this symbiote is at least 900 years old-ish. And yet there's only 6 hosts. Well, 5 if you don't count Gray. That doesn't work for me either.
Because the Picard one is 700 years ago.
Yeah.
So basically, either they didn't want to hire new people, which is fine, or they were in a symbiote pond for hundreds of years, because they all don't all live in hosts, and then at a certain point it was chosen to do, and then you start the career path at a certain time. And I can see that Picard era being the first person, which would kind of be cool actually, the earliest memory, and then you get civilian in between stuff. Because I think that white uniform is an in between, because it does look more like the future Starfleet uniforms than anything we've seen in the past. I think that's especially the boots and stuff, and then you got a civilian, then you got the Admiral.
She would have had to be the Trill would have had to been in a post 900 years ago that was in Starfleet, so it could know the Starfleet ships.
Unless the Picard dude was knowledgeable about antiques,
A historian.
Yeah, all you have to have is one guy, because he's a captain.
True.
So all you have to have is a guy that really likes old ships. I mean, especially since that tech, you could argue, is close enough to Discovery versus their new tech that you understand it more. I mean, Paris liked old cars. But they also did say all the names, so they know these are the only 5. And that's not a lot for a Trill. That is a very, very small amount of... You can tell they went back to the ponds quite a few times, because you would expect, especially in that point, I would expect Dax to have like 30 hosts at this point. Minimum. 900 years. I mean, are you kidding?
Yeah, and I have no problems with them, explaining that away by, yes, spend a lot of time in the ponds between hosts even. That would have been fine. The other problem as well is the fact that most symbiotes and a lot of hosts would be off-world when the burn happened and can't get back to share their knowledge and to kind of to swap out, because I think they might spend time in the ponds and have other ones take hosts and share their knowledge with the other symbiotes in the ponds, and kind of like a information exchange program, because that's kind of the thing, that they're out there to experience things and to learn things and bring that knowledge back. So, and
I like the fact that, as I say every week now, there was still a positive message. Although I thought the way she said it to Burnham sounded like, oh, you should be a host too, but it was actually, we could be joining the Federation. It was weirdly stated, but it was just like, yeah, when you guys are ready, we'll join the Federation again. And I was like, that's a good thing to end on. Phew.
Yeah, when she said, when the Federation comes back, we'll consider another joining. I was like, to Michael, and then literally as soon as she said, "Thank you, appreciate that," I automatically concluded it was to join the Federation, and then all of a sudden I thought Andromeda. I don't know why, but I did. Just people interested in joining the Commonwealth again. That's what.
Well, I mean, that was always going to be the case. At least we can hope. And I appreciate the Trill homeworld. They did say, though, it's kind of falling apart. Well, I think that's as in our, not to go political, but as our current climate in any country, one side of the fence will say we're falling apart, one side says we're doing very well, even though the middle's probably true, etc. So it's just what, clearly there's different factions, so who the hell knows, but the planet seemed peaceful. And I thought no weapons was, as you've said many, many times, if the planet has no weapons, why aren't they getting attacked all the time? Because if there are no power signatures for weapons, they're literally just open for conquer. Now obviously, who the hell wants to conquer a nice planet like Trill, but if they've got free resources, etc., although as we know, ships are hard to come by now, etc.
That being said, they had some really cool hand weapons. I thought those were kind of neat.
Felt like Vulcan weapons. But it showed how ineffective it was because Burnham's, phasered them both instantly. It's like, yeah, don't use pikes against a phaser, and she has a phaser. The pace I thought was pretty good until it went to an absolute halt. And then we got very long scenes of the two new characters, which were pretty decent. Like, they weren't bad, but they were just not as informed as they could have been. And then a lot of the dinner, which was good, but not as full as it could have been. Like, I wanted to see massive conversation between all the characters. I definitely thought the haiku thing, the best bit was when the Doctor failed to do one. That made me genuinely laugh out loud. That felt like an improv moment. That was a good script. But then Detmer's one I thought was really forced. I'm like, what? This is not a PTSD. I'm bitching it. Why would you go to the blood? This felt out of character, out of left field, not linked to her condition.
It felt very odd and didn't fit for me. But that being said, knowing PTSD and just nervous breakdowns, I can see that she just snapped in that moment, and I buy that. I just, I don't know.
Why against Stamets? There was
I don't know.
See,
that's the thing.
She was there, but she was lots of places. Like, it should have been about the ship, or Cyrus piloting, or Pike, or Control. It shouldn't have, there's no connection for me with that.
And I landed the ship. No, you didn't. You crashed the goddamn ship, by the way. You did not land the ship. And then Awashika, or whatever her name is, you did land the ship. You should have respect for that. It's like, whoa, wait, no, what? What is happening right now? That line was way out of left field. And this episode built up to me that Detmer and Awashika are having a relationship. Like, they're in a relationship. They could be best friends, like besties. But if you go back and watch it, it's very, like, there's quite a few moments in this episode where they exchange looks.
I think it's more just they've only got each other, they feel like. They're at the front of the ship. They're always together. That's all they have. So I think relationship would be really out of left field. But yeah, that whole crashing thing, I get Stamets. Like, he I like that, though. Her saying, you feel like the most important person on the ship. It's like, yeah, you do, because you're an arrogant son of a bitch. Now, you might technically be right in that context, especially now, but you do approach it like an arrogant son of a bitch that needs massive, massive amounts of grounding. But in season 1, they used spore drive all the time. Detmer didn't do anything. Season 2, they used warp mostly, but most episodes we saw them jump somewhere special. Detmer's better than any flying, especially in year 1. And since Discovery was fresh out of the space dock, she's done less at warp because they don't warp anywhere. So it's like, Stamets is the real, like, engine of the ship.
Well, she was the pilot. She was the pilot of the Shenzhou as well, I believe. So.
Shenzhou, yeah. And I liked that, though, at the end, saying, pilots are a bit headstrong. That was nice, because we never got a sense of who she is. She just feels like this young lady who's a pilot. But you're right, Shenzhou, that's theoretically for years. Although her arguing, I flew us into the rift, it's like, yeah, you flew in a straight line. You want credit for that? Sorry. You get no credit for flying in a straight line with nothing in front of you.
And not only that, but it took you forever. It took you 930 years to get there. That shows that you're a bad pilot. I didn't feel her piloting spiel and all that was earned. I think it was we established that there's problems with her. Let's pay this off now and never talk about it again. This seemed like a very quick wrap up for me. I think there's going to be no more mention about it. There might be a few her and Stamets moments, but they've already hugged it out.
Have they even had a scene together ever?
No, I don't think so. That's the thing. It didn't feel earned to me at all.
We have never seen Detmer do really good piloting. Like, even the one thing he calls good piloting around the sarcophagus ship was the spore drive. She sat there. She didn't do that. She didn't calculate that. Detmer's piloting has never been registered as being of talent. But it wasn't bad. It was just disconnected from the whole story. And because you had either padding or time to use characters, they threw them lines. But I wanted to see, like I say in that dinner, all of them interacting, like a really quick fire, really big bouncy, like let's learn about these people. We just didn't get that really.
And the last thing I want to talk about is the end of the episode with the Charlie Chaplin movie. I love how the Sarah says, "It fills the room, doesn't it?" And Doctor's like, "Hope? Yes, it does." Or joy, yes, it does. I'm like, I expected Sarah to look up and go, "No, the holograms, they fill the room." Did you notice that the shuttle bay door was open? You could see the nacelles.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some beauty shots and some nice passes, so they did listen to us.
Yeah,
that's one of the things we hated about season 1 was there was no beauty shots of the ship really passing by.
The cut to space bits were there, and they were nice. The balance is better. It's optimistic, but and I'll say my final note: Burnham, better this week. Optimistic, fun, happy. Way more acting going on. There's very little of season 1 Burnham. She was actually fun to watch. I had very little complaints, and even her potential Mary Soonis, I didn't think was like, she just happened to be there. The Doctor could have got her too. There was nothing she did specifically as being a brainiac, which I liked. She just happened to be there, and it felt much more balanced that way. But like I said, just more forced that she was there, but she was not doing it because she's Michael Burnham, just because she was there and nicer right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. But guys, do you agree with that? Do you agree with everything we talked about? If not, probably
or
not.
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Put it down in the comments what you thought about the episode and the certain key points. We love reading your comments and stuff, and we love you guys interacting together. And if you do like doing that, you can join us for our lives, which we do on a regular basis. We'll be doing one tonight, a full review of this scene by scene. So if you want to join that and put in your thoughts, we'd really welcome that. And the best way to find out that we're doing those is to subscribe and click the notification bell icon to all. Please do that. And also make sure you hit like on this video. And if you join a live, hit like right away as well. We like to get those like numbers up because we love interacting with you guys and hanging out and having a good time. So if you can, please make it.
Yeah, because we also have our own opinions about this, but we love seeing what you guys think, you notice, you challenge us on. We want all sides of the fence on this. We're not biased either way specifically. So join us that live at 10 p.m. GMT, 5 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a lot of fun. This one I think has a lot of like little moments to call out, little acting bits. It's quite a big one. And definitely lots of talk on the dinner scene and such. But guys, enjoy our small episodes as well, because every time there's a new episode of a Charlotte Discovery, we look at all the small topics, the debates, the discussions. While this was a big discussion today, we've generalized everything, but we looked at minutiae and we're analyzing, discussing. You guys seem to like those too, so tune and watch those every other day or every day, depending how many there are. And of course, join our lives, as some of those topics deserve a 2-hour discussion as well. Those will be at the same time, same channel, just during the week. And if you want to support us directly, then Patreon, PayPal, join the channel. Lots of great ways. We do need that financial support to keep going because all this content is free, but it's certain people that help us make it free. So if you want to be one of the people that enjoy what we do, and there's great ways, and use the description down below to help you work out how.
That's right. So until next time, guys, I am Captain Foley.
I'm Kong Kongs. Bye, guys.
See ya.